The Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. First of all, congratulations on the win. Had you asked Santa for this win? Was this on the Christmas list of and just another game-winning drive that I'm sure gave you even more anxiety and more stress than normal for Christmas?
I asked Santa to make it a blowout, and
Santa didn't deliver.
He didn't deliver that one, but he came through at the end, and I'll take it anywhere we can take it.
However it works. What did this win mean to this team, both in terms of the games that have happened recently, but then also, of course, in the standings and what these last couple games now can look like for you guys?
I think it was probably a little more frustration because we always pull them out at the end, and it shows us what we can be if we just play 4 quarters. So we understand that part of it. So going into this week, we're going to try to put together 4 quarters to win the division and try to win it going away.
I heard an analyst talk about how teams are incredibly poor record-wise across the league after a dramatic come-from-behind sort of drive. How do you try to maintain, I think I would have always thought it's this great momentum thing that could carry through. How do you is it maybe more of a trying to keep the energy up after something that was so kind of emotionally exhausting?
Well, because we have another big one coming this week, I don't think it'll be a problem trying to get up for this ball game. Just the fact that we had to travel from the West Coast back here, but it's for the division. You know, there's nothing that needs to be said. Everybody knows the importance of the game coming up.
I know that Leonard Fournette, this was his 4th game of the season with over 100 scrimmage yards. He's done that 10 times since joining the Bucs, since the most of any player in that stretch, longest reception of his career. Just tell us a little bit about what you saw from him in the game and how important he ended up being to the outcome.
Well, Lenny's been great. He's been great for the running backs. He's been great for Rashard. And then when he comes in the game, he makes plays. He's tough. He competes. He's a competitor. He breaks a lot of tackles. He understands blitz concepts. We think we have a very good 1-2 punch between him and Rashard.
Does that 1-2 punch seem to have maybe put Fournette in a better position in December, that maybe he isn't quite as beat up or is tired, doesn't have quite as many miles on him essentially as you might if you're having to do all the work?
I don't think it's put any more better position on him. I think he's a little more rested that way. I think he's a little more focused, so to speak, not having to do everything all the time, and it showed yesterday.
What all goes into the decision of when, how, and how much you use each of them? How much is that before the game? How much is that based on how the game goes and how each of those guys are doing? What are the factors there?
Rashad's the starter, we know that, and then we'll put Lenny in after a couple series, and then we'll just ride the hot hand. If Lenny's going right away, if Rashad's going good, he'll stay in longer. If Lenny's going good, he'll stay in longer, and then we'll rotate him accordingly.
I know some of the issues this year have been getting away from the run game, either because of you're already just down so much you're having to do that, or maybe some of the things about it aren't working. But this game, there's even some moments where, 3 attempts at getting a yard fail, but you guys stuck with the run game this time and it ended up being able to pan out more. What went into that decision to still stick with it, and what maybe evolved as the game went on to get a little bit more success there?
Well, we got a lineman down, so when you got a lineman down, you got to be able to run the football. You don't want to let J.J. Watt rush every time. And just running the ball helps us. It helps the defense. It helps the special teams. I think it helps our play-action passing game. So although not successful, we got to be able to get a yard and short yards. We got to be able to get 1 yard. That has to get better. So going forward, but running the ball and helping out the linemen, it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. We just got to stay on a little bit longer.
And tell us about the interceptions and what happened on those plays.
One of them I thought was a bad throw. Obviously, the one on the 7 route they caught. One in the red zone, I think, miscommunication, or he was getting pressure at his feet and he let it go early, and the guy turned around and made a play, and the ball was off target.
How much is it a coincidence that they were both to Mike, or is it a factor of some of those still lingering chemistry issues potentially between Brady and Mike, and how much is it on the same page versus just the plays that the Cardinals were making?
Well, we're on the same page, and the chemistry's there. Mike gets doubled mostly all the time, so if the ball is thrown to him, we got to make sure it's very accurate, and then we just got to make sure we keep getting ways to get him open so we can get the ball to him. So the chemistry part doesn't matter. Mike commands 2 people all the time.
And how about that game-winning drive, having both Mike and Russell Gage make a couple really key plays to get you guys in that field goal position? What did they do well on that drive, and what was the offense doing well overall?
I thought Russ played one of his best games since he's been back receiving and blocking the ball. And Mike, they went zero blitz on with Tom one time, and Tom made a pinpoint pass to the sideline on Mike. I thought that was huge right there. I think that helped get us in field goal range or close to it. But that was a huge play right there because there was zero blitz coverage, and DB didn't have bad coverage, and it's hard to throw an out route, so to speak, pinpoint with that pressure coming in your face.
Yeah, and knowing some of the injuries with the offensive line, factoring all of that in, what was Brady's day like, and what did you see about the way he handled some of that and the types of throws he was making?
We moved the ball early, in the middle of the game we kind of stalled a little bit. They got us on two 3rd and 2s, I think. We didn't get done, we didn't execute, and we got a penalty that kept us out, backed us up from the red zone. The 2 picks, obviously you don't want the turnovers, so we got to be better there, but he closed out the game sharp as can be, so he came back and won it. He knows the importance of it. He got rid of the ball, he got everybody on the same page, and he won the game.
K-Don, I know 84% of the snaps really out there a whole lot, but 7 targets, just 2 catches for 12 yards. I know he had a penalty. What were some of maybe the struggles that weren't working as well for him this game as we've seen some others from him?
I don't think it was just him. I think it was a lot of people, but we kept him in the block sometime and helped chip and do those things. One pass he could have caught was a little bit behind him, but again, they played coverage and they mixed their zone and man real well. We got to do a better job of deciphering that.
And I know that this is the 4th time this year the offensive line has held them without a sack. And what would you say is the play of them overall, especially factoring in all of the injuries and all of the issues?
They fight, they battle. Obviously, Tristan just coming back, not fully healthy, but he battled. Walton battled. Leverett battled, Hainsey battled, and Shaq battled. They battled. Obviously, we don't want our quarterback hit, but at the same time, those guys fight, and they're going to do everything they can to keep him clean.
All right. Well, we have more coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Man, if you're going to have a beat-up offensive line going against J.J. Watt, not always the ideal situation, but especially when he looks like the J.J. Watt of 5 years ago suddenly. What did you think about the way that the guys tried to handle him? How much were you trying to scheme for him going into the game and then trying to make adjustments for how he was playing during the game?
Well, we knew where he was. He was single-handedly responsible for 2 short yard stops himself, jumping around blocks and making a play. But he's a great player, but we still got to get a hat on the hat longer and make sure those guys don't make those type of plays.
And tell us a little bit about Josh Wells. We know tough injury and just what that means to him and the team, and what it's like to watch a guy like that go down.
Josh has been playing great. Since he filled in for Tristan, he's been playing very well. And then the switch to left tackle as a swing tackle, he's probably one of the better ones in the league. And it was tough to see him go down because he was really doing well for us, and he's really making a name for himself. So that one was tough. And he's a very likable guy, works very hard. Everybody likes the guy, and that was a tough one to see. And
when you have a ton of injuries at any one position, that's always going to be hard, but I would say tackle probably one of the ones you would least like to be down to your 4th or 5th string guy, just because of the importance of the position. So what are the odds that you think you could have it be Donovan and Tristan there together again next week? And how do you factor in if a guy's banged up, what percent is it maybe better to go with a backup than the starter if he can go but isn't really his full self?
If a starter can go, then it becomes on reliability. What can you do? And if you can do that well and you can hang in there and we know you can fight, we'll let you play. If not, we'll let the backups play.
How about the idea of the defense overall in this game? I mean, kept the offense in it for so long and did an incredible job in terms of holding them to so few points early. What were the high-level takeaways you thought for the defense?
Well, we were very good on 3rd down, obviously. For the most part, other than the 2 plays, the deep ball that he got, Mike misjudged, and the run play for the touchdown on miscommunication, I thought they did a good job keeping the quarterback in the pocket and not allowing him to go crazy running the football. I think we can tackle a little bit better, but overall, schematically, those guys working together did a good job.
And I know they were only 5 of 19 on 3rd down. What worked so well getting off the field in those situations?
Just making sure there was an extra rusher and making sure he didn't have clean windows to look at and changing the windows up on him, just being a first-time starter. So that was big for us.
I know the offense or the outside linebackers, that's another position that's been hit by injuries lately, and you're having Anthony Nelson and Joe Tryanshenko play every snap. And just what did you see from the two of those guys and the way they were able to get after it playing the whole game?
Well, they were both disciplined. I thought they played the run better, at least setting the edge from that part. Anthony got the big sack early. They got Devin the fumble recovery. Was good. Joe had some pressures. The ball was coming out, but he was reacting to the flare passes and the quick game real well, going back to play the ball.
And what would you have said if I told you before the game you're going to hold DeAndre Hopkins to one catch for 4 yards? I think that that would have probably been a pretty good Christmas gift to say.
That would have been a great Christmas gift. I probably wouldn't have believed you, but yeah.
So what was it that you guys were able to do to produce that when that is a guy that very few teams can do that to?
Just mixing up the coverages, taking away some of the things he liked to do best, and then part of the time making the quarterback look to the other side away from him and not giving him that first read.
And how about the play of Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting? I know each of them kind of had their turns with him, and Sean had a couple pass breakups there. What did you see from each of those guys?
Well, Carlton's continuing his play from last week. He also was good in run support. Sean's extremely smart. He understands the game plan as well as anybody, and he understands what he sees, what's coming at him, so he plays even faster than what he's looking at. And he made some plays yesterday. Again, he had 2 good weeks of game prep, and he had 2 good games.
I know Mike Edwards and Antoine Winfield Jr. both kind of coming off some injuries and still ended up having to play almost all of the game. What did you see from the two of them, of the way they've fought through the injury and the contributions that they had?
I thought they moved around okay. The tackling wasn't where it needed to be on either of them, but I thought they got guys down. Mike just gave up the one play, but other than that, they played well.
All right, well, we still have 2 more segments coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. I know that Logan Ryan is a guy who is a big contributor in terms of not just his actual play, but his communication. And I know he ended up having to step in there and make some pretty big plays this last game. So what have you seen from him since coming back from the injury overall, and just the role that he plays for the secondary?
Logan's huge. He's the guy that gets everybody together for film prep. He demands communication on the field. He goes from safety to nickel, understanding each position. He knows where the ball's going. He kind of yells out to where the play is going and what to look for. So he's big for everybody on defense. He's kind of our vocal quarterback, so to speak.
And how about the special teams play? I know that there was the fake punt that they were able to convert, and there was one big return in particular by Pharaoh Cooper. So what did you think in terms of our return game, the coverage, all of those different units? We know Ryan Suckup came through clutch for you guys for sure, but how about on the other parts of the special teams unit?
I thought Jake did a good job kicking it out of the end zone. We're a little short lately, but he kicked it out of the end zone. Suckup was great. We got to defend the fake punt. We had it. We just lined up too wide. We got to get inside a little more to defend the fake punt. But our coverage units up and down, we got to be more consistent. Didn't give up the big play other than the punt return by Pharaoh Cooper. But we got to understand where the ball's at, and we got to punt it the right way too. So we got to be better that way.
What is it going to be like this week going into a game knowing that it almost feels a bit like a playoff game in the sense of win and you're in idea of just the significance of the situation that getting this win sets you guys up for this week? What is the message you're going to have for the team, and what is the feeling going into a game like that still, a couple weeks left in the regular season feels a little bit like that playoff atmosphere?
Well, our message is simple. Just pay attention to the details. Pay attention to the details. Football doesn't change. We know it's a big game. They don't have to be told. They understood that as soon as we won last night. They'll get back in here Wednesday, and they'll be ready to work.
What do you think are some of the biggest things that you guys learned from that first matchup with the Panthers that can still be applied now, even with some of the changes in both teams?
Defensively, it's gap control. Gap control, not jumping out of your gap, trying to make a play. Offensively, we just got to try to make plays underneath, getting balls. Obviously, we had the big play early, but we got to be consistent and keep them on the field longer than just 3 and outs.
How about the P.J. Walker versus Sam Darnold idea of how this changes the Panthers and what all they do and the difference in facing each of those guys?
I don't think it changes them. I think Steve Wilkes changed them when he got the head job. I think they became a tougher team. They're very good in the run game. They do a lot more on defense than they were. and they believe in it. You know, they got a lot of belief. They got a lot of young talent right now, and they're playing good football. So I think he's changed them.
Yeah, talk about their run game a little bit, and I know that was a big area that didn't go well in the first matchup. So what are the things that you feel like you saw about that and that they did well to learn from for this matchup?
Again, gap control defense. It's gap control defense. We got to understand, if you got a gap, be in your gap. That's really about the size of it. These guys are tough. They're not gonna stop running it, and it's gonna be a bloodbath.
How about their defense, and who are some of the individual guys that stand out for you about that group?
Well, Derek Brown's had a heck of a year down there. D tackle, he's an unbelievable player. Been playing very well coming into his own. Brian Burns has an outstanding year as well. They got two corners that play very well. J.C. Horn liked a lot coming out. He's coming back from his injury. He's coming into his own. So they got some guys that can make a bunch of plays.
All right, well, we have one more segment coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. It's time for our final segment here on the Todd Bowles Show. So what was it like ultimately playing on Christmas, spending the whole weekend with your football family as compared to it? How did you guys try to make it still seem fun and festive?
It didn't feel like Christmas being out in Arizona. You know, the weather's beautiful, the desert type of atmosphere, but being in the hotel and being around each other and nothing not really being open, you get to spend time around the guys, and you know, it was a good, fun, joking, casual atmosphere for the most part. That's
great, and I think probably this time of year that can be really important. And I know now for you guys, though, it's what a tough draw in terms of the schedule of it is all the way across the country. It is the night game. You're landing at, 6, 7 in the morning. And then the Panthers got to play the day before you guys. So it's almost like you guys kind of feel like you have a short week, I imagine, a little bit more of like a Monday night game feel. Does that adjust anything about how you guys do the schedule this week or the workload that you give some of the guys this week during practice?
Maybe the workload, but the schedule will be the same. The players get 2 days off, the coaches don't. So
yeah.
The coaches have a short week, the players have a normal week. So we'll adjust that going forward, and we'll make sure once we get the injury reports, we'll see what practice looks like.
If you were to say maybe one key to a win this next week against the Panthers, one on each side of the ball, what do you think it would be?
Offensively, starting fast, establishing the run game, defensively, stopping the run.
Yep.
Stopping the run.
And then I would love to know, are you a New Year's resolution guy now that we're coming up on it this next weekend?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Why did I know
not.
That would be your answer? You've never made resolutions?
Maybe about 10 years ago, and I keep them true for about a month, and then I go back, so I just stop making them.
Yeah, see, that's what all of us do. We
them.
just keep every year thinking this is the year.
I stopped making them.
You stopped doing it. Okay, so I'm going to make you do it for the team. If you were to make a couple New Year's resolutions for the team, what do you think it would be?
Win a Super Bowl. It's only one. There's only one.
There's only one. That makes it easier. For you guys looking at the Panthers, I think it's so interesting to see how they looked like a team that was throwing in the towel this year when they're trading people away and they're bringing in a replacement head coach, that it looked like this was we're going to start rebuilding for the future. And then for them to now be one of the hottest teams in the league these last several weeks, what do you attribute that to? What is it like to play a team like that where it feels a little bit like that nothing to lose mentality? How does that make a team a little more dangerous potentially?
No, they're dangerous because they're playing for something, just like we are. So, they've always had talent. They've always had talent. It's just all blending together now. It's blended together. They realize they're a good team. They know they're a good team. And we realize they're a good team, but we think we're a good team as well. So it should be a heck of a ball game.
And I know you've known Steve Wilkes for a while. What has it been like to watch him captain that ship and do such a great job of getting it turned around?
I think it's great for him, what he's done and what he's done to the city and what he's doing to that team. Hopefully he gets to keep that job.
Well, Coach, thank you so much, as always, for your time, especially after we know a very long trip, long flight, Christmas weekend. We hope that you're still getting some good time with your family and everything, and good luck this next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and thanks to all of you guys for tuning into this edition of the Todd Bowles Show. We'll see you next week.